So an absolute avalanche of teams has come out for this first weekend of the Rugby World Cup. I'm going to talk about some of them, some of the interesting themes, and please do fill me in on the gaps because your knowledge is one of the reasons I love doing YouTube. First of all, let's announce the winner of the giveaway draw for some custom rugby artwork right behind me. The winner was Ormond McDowell, an Irish fan, and he's going to keep his powder dry and see how far Ireland go before deciding which picture to be made into artwork. So that's cool. Congratulations, Ormond. I said I'd also give a shout out to Rugby Tots because he runs a franchise. It's a great way of getting young children 2 to 7 into rugby or sport and health in general. Great fun, good teamwork, and data has just come out showing that rugby is rebounding very nicely after the pandemic, especially in the younger age group. So with the World Cup, a great time to get into rugby. Also, let's have a look at the Fantasy League. Thousands in there already. If you haven't joined the Rugby Analyst and Egg Chasers Joint Fantasy League, please get involved before it kicks off. This is my team. It's changed a lot since I talked about it last. And also, the results for who you think will win the World Cup has changed a bit. South Africa now the clear favourites, with France and Ireland close behind. So let's look at England versus Argentina. I think it's a pretty good matchup, fairly close. The heads might say Argentina, but I'm going for England just because the heart's saying that. I've got to get behind them. I've talked plenty about their limitations. So I'm going to go all in and say they're going to have a big performance, and after the game, maybe my bubble will be burst and I'm back down to reality, but I'm just going to get all in behind them. I think it's a really good matchup. I mean, front rows are pretty close. Genge, George and Cole, Garjo, Montoya, Condella. Neither has a massively dominant scrum, so that's going to be pretty hotly contested, and both packs, I think, have a good line out as well. So that set piece, I think, is definitely 50-50. But you look at the strength there in that pack. Alemano, Lavanini, Matera, Kramer, Gonzalez, very, very strong, pretty settled, very similar to what they had in the Rugby Championship. For England, they're taking a few chances. Chesham needs to come good. He's just come back from that ankle injury, looked a little off the pace in the warm-up game, so he needs to have a massive game alongside a Toje, who has played okay for England recently. He can come up and down. A lot is expected, and England need a big game from him. Laws there as the captain at 6, as that kind of extra second row size type 6. And the big story really is Tom Curry straight in, even though he hasn't played in the warm-ups and he's not match fit. He's that important. He's straight in. Indeed, Kevin Sinfield said maybe part of the reason England's defence wasn't so good is he wasn't there. He's that crucial. So he's going to have to, play a big game. They do have Ludlam on the bench who can cover everywhere, including 7. So maybe he'll have to replace him at some point, or Earl could go to 7 and Ludlam somewhere else. Earl, again, needs a massive game. He is a smaller 8. He wasn't really going as an 8 because Binny Villapola was the only out-and-out 8 who's banned. I hope they get him out wider. He's very destructive, operating in slightly wider channels in open space. Can he get that freedom against a very settled Argentinian defence? Not sure. Now let's look at the 2 back lines. Super interesting for England that it's actually Alex Mitchell who is the starting scrum half in this, probably their most important game of the World Cup. And he wasn't even in Borthwick's plans to start with, just came in for an injury replacement for Van Poortvliet, and now he starts. Hopefully that's him acknowledging England actually need to play more expansive rugby, quicker rugby. So maybe an admission that he got that wrong with his 3 selections of scrum half. Kerr on the bench, no Young, so he's going for the quicker scrum halves. Forward at 10, who I think does pull around defences pretty well. He himself is not a massive threat, so he needs the guys around him to fire. I like Marchant at 13 because I think he's England's best 13. Who plays 12? Well, Tuolangi has played more 12. Lawrence is more of a 13, so I don't mind that. Lawrence coming in either 12 or 13. We'll see how the game goes there, but all their centres are in there. Indeed, their other centre, Daly, is on the wing. No mail-ins at all, so they're going for Daly, who probably has more edge in attack, better kicking game. Hopefully his defence can hold up. He can make big tackles and then he can kind of go off. So let's hope he's actually fully concentrated the whole game. Johnny May, many of you guys said he still is very quick. It's just he used to be stellar quick, which makes him look less quick. And I'll take that point, but he's going to need a big game because for Argentina, you've got Amatio Carreras, who is the quickest player on the pitch, I would say, certainly acceleration-wise. Stewart, He always plays 15. He does have some good traits and he needs to have a big game. He has had big games before. We know his weaknesses. Can he dominate the airways? Can he make those big busting runs? It's possible. Let's see how that backline goes because, this Argentinian team is very settled in the backs there. You can see Malia is their best, most exciting 15, and they've moved Buffelli to 14, and he's generally always there. He kicks for them as well. So very settled for Argentina. A bit of a roll of dice in places for England. There's the bench. The front row, a bit of explosion there for Theo Dan coming off, and the very experienced Creevy, the hookers coming off the bench there. Other names to mention, more rolls of the dice for England. Martin, the young second row, again, hasn't exploded for England. Now is the time he's got to do it. Smith there covering 10 and maybe 15 by the looks of it. And Ollie Lawrence covering both positions in the centre. And then on the bench, you can see for Argentina, the story is they're going for the 6-2 split. The big Bruni there pops out as a good impact player. Gonzalez maybe a bit more of a flanker. So that's an interesting one there. So a 5-3 split for England, 6-2 split for Argentina. So, head maybe says Argentina, but I'm just going to get behind my team and say they're going to do it. Let me know how deluded I am. But there's a chance here. I think it's going to be a really close game, almost like a knockout game almost. So let's talk about this Irish team to face Romania. It's a good first game, to be honest. It lets Ireland play around a little bit, and I still think they should win. Porter and Furlong are going to be their starting props, but they're starting Herring. That's interesting, because if Sheehan isn't fit, and he's not quite fit yet, maybe Herring is a better starter, incredibly reliable, and Kelleher's the more explosive guy, so he comes off the bench. So maybe they're experimenting. If they don't have Sheehan, is this the way they're going to go? Second rows would normally be James Ryan and Ty Byrne, but they're trying young Joe McCarthy. That is interesting. We don't see Baird at all, which is a shame. He'd probably like to have played this game, one that he could have excelled in, but McCarthy gets the first roll of the dice as the third choice second row, shall we say. Also on the bench, Ian Henderson, who's very reliable. Some of you guys really rate him. Some think he's fallen off a little bit. They're experimenting as well. On the flanks, definitely. Ty Byrne is an outstanding blindside flanker, but he's not going to be starting there. He'll be starting in the second row. So they're trying him at 6 as maybe a replacement for Peter Amani, and they're trying Peter Amani as a replacement for Josh van der Fleer. So looking at their second choices, I think, in those positions, there is no Conan anyway, so the replacement for him would be Doris. So I think they're trying maybe second choices in all positions, which is quite interesting. But Doris could, of course, start at 8. He's probably going to start somewhere. Then Johnny Sexton, as he was always going to be, is straight back in. This is good to get some game time, get some fitness. They'll want him fit and firing, so that's great news. So starting half-backs as normal. Bundy, Aki and Ringrose, I think they are the starting centres for me. I think Aki's done enough. Henshaw's amazing. Many of you guys say Henshaw is the class, and maybe he is, but he does cover more on the bench as well. But either way, you divide up the pie there. There's 3 fantastic centres, and they're all in this game. Conor Murray on the bench, Crowley to come on. Are they the number 2 9s and 10s? And a slight change in the normal back 3. Hansen's not in. Earls gets a chance. He could take it. So Hansen's going to be a little bit worried, although you'd think Hansen is pretty close to being nailed on the wing. So I think it's going to be a good performance for Ireland. Get into the game, try some variations, get Sexton some game time. I like it. Now, just like England, Wales start with a huge pool game against Fiji. I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant. And interestingly, even though Gatland has brought a squad that's kind of saying, let's rebuild Wales with the youngsters, this is a very experienced team. He's not mucking around here, not making too many experiments. Looking in the front row, Thomas and Francis, they've both got a fair few caps, especially Francis. Elias is very reliable. I'm guessing Lake isn't quite ready yet. So they're going for Elias and then D on the bench. So plenty of experience there. And the second rows, it's the 2 experienced guys, Beard and Will Rowland. So experience as they can get. Dafford Jenkins is exciting, but he's on the bench. It would have been great to see him play, but you can understand why they're going with the experience. And they're actually picking the back row that I suggested was their best back row a while ago now, moving Wainwright to 6, Faletau starts straight away. A bit like Tom Curry for England, he's that important. He is straight in. Young captain Jack Morgan there. So loads of experience for Jack Morgan to draw on. So I like it, but let me know if you think they should have taken a few more chances. Their nines are really strong. I've always said that. You can go either way. I normally would start Thomas Williams, but they're starting Gareth Davis. Either way, good impact when someone comes on. Bigger, 109 caps, he always bounces back as their first choice 10. And yeah, it's as experienced as you can almost get there, maybe without Lee Halfpenny, but yeah, it's pretty much as experienced as you can get. Tompkins and North instead of maybe Johnny Williams, I thought should have played at 12. So let's see how Nick Tompkins matches up physically against Randrandra and Nikolaevu. That's a tricky assignment for sure. And then, yeah, their best 15, Liam Williams, the speed of Zammit, and Josh Adams is very reliable for Wales. He'll want to get on the score sheet. So it's very experienced. Should they have rolled the dice a bit more? I don't know, but I think it's going to be a cracking game. On the bench, we can see what we've got there. A little less experience with, like, say, Domachowski on the bench, Jenkins, Rafael there, Thomas Williams, but a lot of speed. Interesting, they're playing Rio Dyer as the outside back replacement. Who is the centre replacement? I'm not sure. Adams? I don't know. Or is it Dan Bigger if Costello comes on? That's a bit of a roll of a dice. Let me know what you think there. But yeah, who's going to win that game? It's going to be fantastic. What an opening weekend. So let's talk about Australia versus Georgia. The Wallabies haven't had the greatest results, but when you look at their team, what I've been saying is I see talent. There's got to be a massive performance in there somewhere. They're playing Georgia. I think there'll be too much for Georgia, and I think it'll get them off and running quite nicely. But, we will see because it is a very new team. But you look there, Bell, Tupu, both very exciting props. I mean, Tupu's up to 50 caps. I mean, where did that come from? I think because he's been in and out of the starting team and injured, it's kind of crept up on us, but he's just such a talent. Let's hope he has a good World Cup. Then some big boys in the second row. Arnold and Skelton are as big as any second rows around. The very new flanker pairing there of Tom Hooper and Fraser McWright. So, yeah, still a fair bit to prove for them. Valentini, their big number 8, their only main ball carrier there, number 8. Tate McDermott, Carter Gordon, the youngsters being trusted by Eddie Jones. On the bench you've got Nick White, and of course they're not taking in the experienced 10. And it does look like they're playing Ben Donaldson either just to get him some game time because he hasn't played much yet in the warm-ups, or to replace Carter Gordon as the kicker. Maybe it's an experiment to see if that would work. Little bit risky, I guess, in some respects, because Kellaway is probably the better 15, but maybe they're thinking against Georgia, this is a great time to try it, kill two birds with one stone, game time, and take over the kicking. We'll see. Centres, yeah, you just see talent there. In fact, the whole of the centres and the wingers, you just see pure talent. Karevi is back. Pataya is a bit of a genius, jack of all trades. Now Quantawezi, everyone loves, don't they? He's got that rangy ability, just scares defences, can get offloads as well. And the power and the finishing of Kurumbetti. So the talent is there. They need a result. They need a performance. I think they're going to get it, actually. So that's a selection of some of the teams and players for this weekend. Lots of big stories. Let me know what you think of the really interesting picks there. And if you want to come along for the ride on the channel, please do subscribe. That would be awesome. Thumbs up are always great. Comments below, join the Fantasy League, and I'll see you next time.